Man, you smell that? I smell something. Bullshit. Episode review for American Horror Story. Coven. Episode. The Sacred Taking. And you know what? They should have made that title a little bit longer. The Sacred Taking of My Precious Time. Because I am starting to get a little bit frustrated with this show. Let me get through all the major points of the episode, and then I'll get through what I'm talking about with that. But the big part of this episode was Cordelia. She's leading all the witches in a great big plan to kill Fiona so that the next Supreme can come to the forefront. And at this point, nobody knows who that is. Big question mark there. Myrtle thinks it's Misty Day. And the show is playing up the fact that it could possibly be Nan, which would be a neat twist. But then there's also all of the evidence pointing towards the fact that it could be Zoe, and the big thing is that she's the main character of the show. So at this point, I'm still thinking that it's Zoe. These other candidates, they're just red herrings to throw you off course. Not very good at throwing you off course when there's so much evidence pointing to it being Zoe. So they decide the best way to do this is to go through the Sacred Taking and to have Fiona try to kill herself, trick her into killing herself by freaking her out, by having Madison come back, Myrtle come back, and just sort of freak her out in her already drugged up state and convince Fiona to just go all the way and kill herself. It was a good plan. It was a neat little scene, and at first, I thought they were going to do it. And then they actually did do it, and I thought, man, this was it. This is Fiona's swan song here. This is going to be her final episode. And it would totally change the dynamic of the show. People wouldn't be expecting it to happen because Fiona, the actress that plays Fiona, she's been such a major part of the previous 2 seasons. To kill her off midway through this season would be a neat twist. So I was excited for this. But then, nope, guess what? Here comes Spalding in this big fucking cop-out, this gigantic, cheap ass-pool. You know, he's back, and it's not in like a flashback sense. He's still on the show, affecting what's happening currently in the timeline of the show. He keeps Fiona from killing herself, which, that just seems so weak. And it seemed like filler, too. That's the worst part. Like, if he could see everything all the time, and could communicate with Fiona so easily, why didn't he fucking do it sooner? Why did he wait until she was, like, this close to being dead? Why didn't he tell her before anybody showed up in her room that, hey, I'm a ghost, and they're planning to kill you? Like, it just wasted, like, 10, 15 minutes of showtime. Right, so also in this episode, we got a quick update on neighbor Luke, whose axe wound is healing pretty nicely. But then, unfortunately, he has another one of the worst moms in the world who likes to punish him by giving him some kind of drain cleaner enema. Oh, it was a big WTF moment there, but it was so twisted that I did kind of like it. And then that crazy bitch, she gets killed at the end by Hank, the witch hunter, who has the worst aim ever. And I mean, I could only assume that he wanted to kill Nan, that he was aiming for her, and he shot the mom, like, twice. It was awful. Was that supposed to be like a warning that he's coming for them? Why would you warn them? Why wouldn't you take one out right then and there when you had the opportunity? You could have then taken out some more when they came out to see what happened. That is just fucking stupid. So, you know, his character took a turn for the badass earlier in the season, but right now he's kind of become a bitch who's just really terrible at his job. I mean, if he's this great witch hunter, he's really hasn't been showing it. And for Queenie, show opens with her. She rips a dude's heart out of his chest at the beginning of the episode. Pretty awesome stuff right there. I really did like that. And then after all of her heart ripping and war promising, we cut back to her, and she's feeling sorry for LaLaurie and feeding her fast food. And I gotta say, her stance on just where she is as a character, it's a little wishy-washy. I mean, she's ready to go to war with the other witches, but she feels bad for the woman that is a super-duper worst racist of all time and is giving her, like, freaking cheeseburgers. I just don't get it. I mean, It's just too wishy-washy. And Ola Reeve, well, you know, she had a tough episode because she lost, at least as far as we've seen, her hand and her head. And then that box opening scene at the end, I gotta imagine that's Marie paying back Fiona for when she delivered the box with Bastion's head in it. There's a little payback here. Alright, so my favorite part of this episode, it was that heart rip from Queenie at the beginning. I thought it was pretty cool the way they showed it with the camera inside the body and her hand going in and grabbing it and just ripping it out. It was very, very nasty, very gory stuff. I appreciated it. Okay, so now what I disliked about this episode in particular was Queenie at the beginning, after the heart rip, she's teasing this witch voodoo priestess's war. Like she says, a war is coming. But then we're not going to talk about it for the rest of the episode. We're not going to spend any single second on it. Don't tease me with a voodoo witch war and not do anything about it. That was a big fucking tease, and I didn't like it. Why is Neighbor Luke only good at absorbing near-fatal injuries? I mean, took his shot, axe shot in the back, and then I think he got shot in the arm or grazed his head or something. And why do the witches need to be so afraid of a witch hunter that sucks so bad at his job? Cordelia's husband is terrible. He's like really bad. And when Cordelia was like all frightened about this bullet she found, I'm like, don't worry. He's got piss poor aim, and he's been trying for like 3 episodes now to get the job done, and it's not happening. I mean, hell, he even missed Misty Day at the beginning of the episode. Come on. And a big problem I'm starting to have with this show is the way they're handling character deaths, which by handling them, I mean they are totally freaking reversing them. The first time that it happened, I think Kyle was the first one, I was like, oh, he died. That's insane. He's dead already, but you knew he was coming back. And I was like, oh, okay, that's how they're doing it. And then when Madison got killed, I was like, oh, shit, man, that's pretty serious. This show's not fucking around this year. But then she came back, and I was like, well, okay. And they killed Myrtle, and I was like, well, this is her big swan song, and it's Fiona, you know, covering her tracks here, or just being generally dastardly. But anyway, Myrtle dies in this huge scene, and then by the end of the episode, they reverse that too. And then in this episode, this woman, neighbor boy mom, she gets revived like literally 5 minutes of TV time after she dies. So what's the point of any of these major character deaths when they just keep coming back to life? It's getting old, and I'm not surprised by a death anymore, and I'm annoyed by the revivals at this point. I mean, even Spalding's still on the show, and he's like, now he's a ghost. It's just this random explanation. Poof, there he is. And when I thought Fiona, big game changer, was about to happen, you know, I didn't think anybody was going to revive her because just about everybody wants her dead, so that wasn't going to happen. Thought this was it. This was her time. Nope. It's annoying. It all kind of feels like filler. Alright, so overall, I am giving this episode of American Horror Story Coven a C-. This was definitely the weakest episode of the season, in my opinion. And just the witches being able to do just about anything they want, and the constantly shifting attitudes and alignments, you know, who's with who, and who's doing what where. It's so back and forth at this point, I'm finding it hard to even really give a shit about any of it. I mean, a character could have one stance on a situation or about another character, and by next week it'll be totally different. Or hell, if it's the beginning of the episode, by the end of the episode, their stance could be totally different. So, what's the point in caring about it? Bottom line, it's starting to become less fun and more annoying. So, I'm hoping that the show can turn it around. I have faith, but they need to start making some changes soon.